Hey everyone, and welcome to the Defining Your Life podcast, where we focus on living in our purpose, practicing presence, and activating our power in each moment. I'm Marsharelle, your resident pep talk provider, and I invite you to join me as we continue to learn, lift each other up, and strive to level up together. Because we are never finished defining our lives, and it takes a village, so let's build one. Stay tuned for the episode. Hey everyone, I hope that you had a wonderful week and that you are adjusting to the crisp fall weather if it has finally reached your area. I am now officially excited for fall. Sweaters and soups and crisp air and warm cider. The crunch of leaves beneath my shoes. I find it refreshing and new, even though we're technically in a season of shedding that which is old. It's that beautiful time of year when folks are still outside before we truly hunker down for the coldest of months. Although if this winter is anything like last year, we will basically have fall for like 6 months. But hey, I will take that. I am not complaining. Well, I hope that this week you had some time to think about the process of shedding. What needs to be discarded? What shed things you might be repurposing in your life? And what you actually gain when shedding, because there's just so much to consider. So remember to trust the process and don't try to skip ahead because you just might miss something. Now, we shed things so that we can be lighter, move forward, evolve. But even with a master plan, we are still our very human selves. So there's most certainly something in that plan that isn't going to shake out the way that we anticipated. In fact, it may downright be screwed up, a major mess up, the kind of thing that makes you want to pull the covers over your head and not come out. I mean, really, who hasn't been there, right? And in most of those instances in my own life, I have found myself just wanting to wipe the slate clean, start fresh. In my head, I want to go where no one knows me or my missteps. And on the inside, it may feel like you want to just create a new identity because it's much easier to start from scratch rather than make sense of the mess that we may have created for ourselves. But is it really that easy to just pick up and start anew? And even if by chance you did have the opportunity to do so, when you ran from your mess, did you run from the lesson also, leaving yourself vulnerable to create the same mistake again? I can confidently say, at least for me, probably so. But what if you were able to recognize that you were headed off track before you got too far down the line? What a relief. What a blessing to recognize that you weren't traveling on your intended path, but found there was still time for you to take a different route. I would argue that we often know early on when we are off track. But the question is, do we acknowledge it? Today, I want to take a moment to chat about course correction and how the correction itself is often disguised as a greater mountain than it may actually be in order to keep you distracted and keep you from getting where you need to go. Sometimes we allow ourselves to be distracted willingly, because taking the assigned path may seem like too much work. But just like in a maze, you might find that you are going in another direction, only to find yourself right back where you started. Because you can run from your path, but you cannot escape it. Have you ever been running late somewhere? And so you try to take what you think might be a shortcut, zigging and zagging through streets, only to get to the intersection that should put you on the main road, just to find that that road is blocked off due to a detour. And the only way for you to get where you are headed is to go all the way back to the point where you started and take the initial route. You were distracted by that shortcut, but God has a funny way of redirecting us and putting us back on course. The path serves a greater purpose than just getting us to the destination, the same way in which the journey shines just as brightly as the goal at the end of it. You need the path, And if you try to dip off of it, you may find some unnecessary detours along the way. There are those times where we may not have initially recognized the distractions that led to detours, and we may have ended up on the highway for a long time before realizing that we were going north instead of south. Our vision was blurry, our hearing muffled, so we didn't hear the directions clearly. And initially, it may have felt right because we wanted it to be right. And our wanting kept us from recognizing the distraction. And the realization that we were wrong about where we were taking ourselves, now that's challenging to accept. Because you may be on a road that is actually leading you to something that you greatly desire. And then you hit a few speed bumps. The terrain gets a little bit rockier, but we keep going. Because what we desire is just within reach. And then we get a flat tire. Now we're riding on the spare and we still keep going, right? Because we're almost there. We keep going and going instead of pulling over, calling for roadside assistance to get us back home where we can get the necessary repairs before getting back on the road in the right direction. So let me ask you, are you riding on that spare right now? Are you chasing something that you know isn't meant for you? Something that looks real shiny, giving you that, why can't I have it too syndrome? I caution you not to be distracted. Don't get so caught up on someone else's path that you never get a chance to discover what's on your own path. Coveting the goodies you see on their path when those same goodies could very well be on your path, plus more. Maybe there's some unique goodies, one-of-a-kind gems on your path that, never even get a chance to be picked up because you're neglecting your path. How long are you going to try to hammer a square peg into a round hole before you simply accept that it's just not a good fit? It's not for you, right? And that's cool because you have your own thing. There are enough things in life that are actually hard. Don't take what should be easy and make that hard too. A well-corrected course can reveal the sun that's behind a cloudy sky in your life. It can give you renewed hope, a second chance, forgiveness where you may be desiring it. But you have to be open to that correction, open to the work, discipline, or temporary deprivation that may be on that path leading you to your greatness. Ignoring the thing that brought you to this point of correction, though, that will not serve you. Pulling the covers up over your head, trying to avoid that which still exists, will not serve you. So recognize it, own it, and adjust your sail so that you can keep your boat moving with the wind and not against it. Do you need a few repairs because you decided to take the obstacle course instead of the simply plotted path? What are your repairs? It's important that we know what they are. Do you need to repair trust? Trusting or being trustworthy? Do you need to repair your work ethic? Putting in the effort and not just putting a hand out? Do you need to repair your relationship with discipline? Because the wind can take you a lot of places if you want to go wherever it blows. But all those places are not good places. And sometimes we have to have the discipline to refrain. Do you need to repair relationships? Telling folks how they may have hurt you instead of just pushing people away that you still desire to be close to without giving them the opportunity to correct their course as it relates to the relationship. And insert friendly reminder, okay? A relationship is made up of two flawed humans, not one. This actually got a little heavier than I intended for it to get today. But as we so often talk about here on the pod, we got to break it down into bite-sized pieces and work a little at a time. List out the small changes you can make to get back on track in whatever the area is that needs attention. Everything isn't instantaneous, and that's okay, as long as you're working toward what's right. Maybe you don't journal, but you're cool with making lists. List out those areas in your life where you may need to reevaluate the path you're on, or just give praise that you are already on the right path. You might have done this work already. Kudos to you. Okay. And know that a course correction is meant to lead you in the right direction. I'll leave you with a few words from author Sharon Will today. Change moves incrementally from breath to breath and moment to moment, allowing for course correction along the way. Thanks so much for listening today. If what you have been hearing has been beneficial, please remember to share, rate, and review. Every week, I'm hearing from more and more of you who are listening and tuning in. And so I just say thank you. I also want to say that I know, all too well that it's much easier to talk about things rather than to take action. Change is challenging. And I want you, dear listener, to always feel encouraged and empowered by the Defining Your Life platform. And I also want you to never feel like you're walking alone. So if you find yourself in a space where you desire more support and you want to truly expand your village, send me a DM or an email. Send a prayer request. I will absolutely pray for you. Anyway, I can't wait to hear more from all of you as we continue along together in this breakthrough season. And I certainly cannot wait to chat with you all again next week. Take care until then.